2 weeks before the season, that's what you want to see right there. Power line is loaded. 6 a.m., it's early, but we got work to do. We're 2.5 weeks before the season comes in, and that millet field is still not dry enough to burn. So I'm running out here early this morning, gonna mow, bush hog that entire field. That should really speed up the drying process, and just maybe we can burn this weekend. Around here, we call that sagging the power line. Exactly 7 o'clock in the morning, power line is loaded. There's a pile of doves down there in that millet like I just showed you. So I'm gonna let them keep feeding that millet field. I'm gonna go ahead and bush hog the sunflower field real quick. Then we'll go attack that millet field once it dries out a little bit. Take a little break here, my back was hurting, but I've noticed something, and I've got a true conundrum and a question for the masses. A lot of these sunflowers, their head is gone, and these did bloom down here in this corner, but the heads are entirely gone, like they've been clipped off or rotted off. There's not a single sunflower head down here in this corner, and there's nothing on the ground either. There's seeds on the ground, like where the head might have been busted at one point, but the heads themselves are gone. Here's another one I know for a fact bloomed. The head is gone, and it is not on the ground. Have no idea. Not all heads are missing. Good grief, look at that thing. The stage has been set in the sunflower field. Let's go mow some millet. That's what you want to see. Come down here to mow the millet field and 30 doves get up out of the back corner. So I have definitely learned the brown top millet, I think, is what they prefer, and I'll show you why. On its own, this brown top millet has matured and dried out much quicker than the pearl or the Japanese millet, and certainly the wild millets and grasses. It mats itself down actually really tight to where the dove can just sit here and sit on it without having to be on top of a bunch of heavy detritus like that Japanese millet has. I'm picking my winner, Battle of the Millets, brown top millet. It matures out quicker, mats over, lays up nice and tight. The birds can get in here without me even having to mow this. I think the sunflower and the corn timing was perfect. I think we're good there. The millet, I wish I would have planted it a week earlier because we're only 2.5 weeks of the season and it's not even close to being a dry enough field to burn. And I really didn't want to spray herbicide. I have sprayed them out in the past years to help speed it up, but just trying to reduce chemical usage where I can. And there's also a time component. I was hoping to just let it naturally dry out. With the 90-degree temperatures through the remainder of this week and weekend, if we bush hog it, it just might be dry enough to burn this coming weekend. I was a little worried about bush hogging this so green, like the seed might not have matured. But what I'm realizing is the brown top millet down in all this foxtail and barnyard grass, the actual brown top millet is dried out completely. That's all the brown leaf structure you see, and that's the dried out brown heads you see. So the brown top millet that we wanted is dried out and ready to be bush hogged. The problem is we've got so much barnyard grass and foxtail in here that's still really, really green. So I don't know if this is gonna burn worth a flip or not. One way to find out, I'm definitely gonna rule out recommending pearl millet for a dove field. If you had clean bare ground and planted this millet on rows and had weed control, and planted it earlier, it might be perfectly fine. But for what we're doing out here, we're trying to keep things moving, dry things out quick, get them to maturity quick. I don't like the pearl. It's just got a ton of structure on it, a lot of leaf structure. The heads aren't even close to dry yet, and it's been almost 60 days since planting. So it's just, it takes too long to dry out, and there's too much leaf structure here. I just don't like it. The brown top millet stays much lower to the ground, matures out quicker, mats over on itself, and makes it a lot easier to bush hog and clean up. Not a fan of the pearl millet. Here's an example of the brown top planted right next to all this pearl millet. See how low the ground it is? There's a lot less leaf structure to mess with. The seeds are already predominantly browned out and dried out, which makes it good for mowing. Even the Japanese millet, I'd say, is a close second to the brown top. Japanese millet's starting to dry out pretty nice as well, and it's laying over on itself, which is going to make it a lot easier to bush hog, but also lets these birds get in here earlier. So if I had to rank them, brown top millet number 1, Japanese millet number 2, pearl millet number 3, may not recommend at all. But just in the 5 days since we were last out here, the Japanese millet has really started to dry out. So I think another week and it should be good to go for burning. In case you're wondering if there's any seed in the field, look at that. This bush hog is a carpet of seed. Just wanted to provide you all with a quick update. Folks have been asking how we're going to prepare the millet field. So that's how we're going to do it this year. We're just bush hogging it, hoping it's going to dry out with the temperatures, and then we'll burn it. In a perfect world, I probably would have planted that back millet field about 2 weeks earlier to have given all that Japanese millet and pearl millet time to dry out. We'll catch you next weekend. We'll be out here setting fire to that field. Hopefully it's dry enough to burn. But until then, as always, thank you so much for watching. God bless and take care.